Okay. Nice job. A lot more snow. Yeah.
I think
As a college regular Oak School Board meeting orders. Are there any consideration of the agenda additions or deletions?
Nope.
We'll all stand, face the flag for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this month for our Student of the Month celebrations, we have the junior high Students of the Month as well as our high school Students of the Month. So, Mr. Means, do you want to start us off with the junior high?
Yeah, the two junior high students that we nominated and won the award this month are not here. I didn't think the 7th grader was going to be here, and the 8th grader, Mom said if she can convince her to come, she's too shy. So, anyways, we'll start with the 7th grade. The winner for Student of the Month in December was Ryan Munoz Morales. Ryan comes to class with an energy and excitement that his teachers wish every student exhibited. Ryan is an encouragement to everyone in class and is quick with a smile and a loud laugh. Students enjoy being around Ryan because of his positivity and his energy. Ryan's father is Demetrio Munoz. Ryan participates in soccer and his favorite class is social studies. Congratulations, Ryan, for being selected as a Student of the Month by your 7th grade teachers. Great job. And when I called and talked to his father, they're Hispanic. I could understand most of it, but talked really, really fast, but he was really, really excited. And he's new to our corporation this year, and he's, like they said in here, when he is exciting and has a smile. When I told him he won it, he had no idea that he was going to win. His smile was from ear to ear, and he was pretty excited about that. So he's been a good addition to Oak Hill. Our 8th grade Student of the Month is Brianna Henderson. Brianna has gone above and beyond helping her fellow classmates. She is always polite and works hard in the classroom. She has a great attitude and is always willing to lend a helping hand. Brianna is encouraging, and her teachers enjoy having her positivity in class. Brianna's parents are Courtney and Jeff Henderson. She also has a brother, Braden, and a sister, Alyssa. Brianna participates in dance, student council, news crew, the River Church, C3 youth group, and FCA. Her favorite class is PCC, which is preparing for college and careers. Congratulations, Brianna, for being selected as a Student of the Month by your 8th grade teachers. And I had to leave a voicemail for her mother on Friday. Called Brianna down today to make sure her mother got the voicemail. She said yes, and I said, did you tell your mother? Yes, but I called her right after she left the office just to make sure, because a lot of times when junior high students tell you something, it never happened, or they are exaggerating or whatever. So her mother said yes, she got the message, and she was very excited, and that it would be 50-50 if she showed up, but she said, I don't know if Brianna will, because she doesn't like being in a big group of people standing up front. And she probably didn't want a picture taken with me. That's probably why. I don't blame her.
All right, now on to our high school Student of the Month, or Students of the Month.
we have
Mr. Smith.
Yes, we have 4 of them. I did speak to with all the parents. We had 3 that could not make it tonight. I think one had a little bit of stage fright. The other 2 had commitments. And so what I have for a freshman is Ariana Larch. And Ariana is such a joy. She always brings a smile to my face. She works extra hard in class and tries to encourage others. She is smart, creative, and is friendly to everyone. She always goes the extra mile when working on her assignments. She is an absolute leader in her groups, and I can always depend on her to do her best. She is very supportive of her classmates and tries to also keep them on task. I've enjoyed having her in class. And that was from Mrs. Wilcox. So that was the nominating teacher there. For our sophomores, we had Ava Middlesworth. And the nomination read as follows. I would like to nominate Ava Middlesworth. She has been on top of getting her work completed. She emails teachers, comes into school to complete work when she isn't required to do it. She goes above and beyond to get her work done and stay on top of her grades. She was always pleasant and encouraging. She should be rewarded for her hard work through it all. And she was nominated by Mrs. Lisa Trejo. Our junior, who's not in attendance with us today, is Kyle Brower. The nomination reads, I would like to nominate Kyle Brower for Student of the Month. Kyle is a shining star of my dual credit U.S. history class. He's not afraid to share his thoughts and opinions during class discussions. He has a sincere passion for history and how it has affected our nation as a whole. He exemplifies great leadership both inside and outside of the classroom. He is a member of the National Honor Society, where he contributes his ideas in his own time for various community events. I appreciate his strong work ethic and commitment to his academics. He has a bright future ahead of him, and that was Mrs. Larona. And our senior, come on up. I have Channing Riley with me tonight, our senior student of the month. And Channing, why don't you tell us who you brought with you?
My mom and my dad,
Tell us who mom and dad is.
Trisha Riley and Patrick Riley.
All right. Okay. The nomination reads, I would like to nominate Channing Riley for Senior Student of the Month. Channing has been very helpful to me in class. There was a time that I was called away for a meeting. Channing stepped in and made sure the class continued reading the story we were studying. When I returned, they were right where they needed to be in the material. Channing has since asked me to teach at least 2 more times, which I've let him do. He does a great job. Channing has already grown a lot in a very short period of time. And in my class, he has found a nice balance between being the class clown and a respectful young man. So, hey, congratulations to you. And what would you like us to do?
Maybe just
A little more? Here, go, hold on, grab a hold of that there. Get that side of it.
There you go, perfect. All right, great. Thank you.
Hey, and by the way, getting close to the flag, I don't know if you noticed, Channing will be joining the United States Army and will be heading out to Oklahoma for basic training. So good spot for him here. Thank you for your future service.
I have one more quick celebration.
Yeah.
I saw where Andrew King captured his 600th dual meet victory this weekend, and congratulations, Coach King and the wrestling team and all the wrestlers that wrestled for him. See any public participation for this evening? For those that are students of the month, if you guys want to leave and not stay for the boring part of the meeting, you're more than welcome. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome as well.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
All right, on to the consent agenda. In your packet were the minutes for the regular board meeting, the executive session, as well as another executive session last week. Claims as provided for the month. For personnel, we have our resignations at the top and our appointments.
Anybody have any questions on consent agenda? If not, here's a motion. So moved. Second. All those in favor, right hand? 6-0.
Now on the continuing business, we have a couple special guests or a couple groups of special guests tonight. We have an update from the town of Sweetser on their wastewater project. We have Ricardo Paredes, is that how you said it, Paredes?
Paredes, yeah.
Okay. From RQAW, Sean Kleinpeter from Kleinpeter Financial, and then John Potter from the Sweetser Town. So if you guys would like to talk a little bit about, give us an update basically on your project, your wastewater management project, and kind of anything you would like to share with the board, just to give us an update.
Thank you, Dr. Logan, and on behalf of the town council, students, I'd like to thank you and the school board for giving an opportunity to come and give you some information tonight. I don't have much to say other than the town, the students are fully committed to the project. There's no question that it is going to happen. This the part that pertains specifically to the town of Sweetser. There is another part that Ricardo and Sean will be talking about involved. So turn it over to Ricardo, please.
Thanks, John. Good evening, board. My name is Ricardo Paredes. I'm with RQAW DCCM. I'm the project manager in the water wastewater department. We have been selected as engineer for the town of Sweetser, and we're currently working through the first part of the project, which is a lot of improvements to their wastewater treatment facilities. But today what we're going to be covering is the option of regionalization between Oak Hill and Sweetser. Just keep in mind the information I'll be sharing with you. Our purpose here is to kind of keep communication open and running with the board. And ultimately, what we're looking at is not necessarily a full 100% commitment today, saying yes, we're going with the numbers we're showing. It's more like, yes, the board's still interested. We want to keep talking about this, and then looking for possibly a decision probably in January at that point in time. So high level, if you don't mind changing the slide for me. The scope of the project, as John mentioned, this originated through a preliminary engineering report and a master utility plan we prepared for the town, focusing on their needs for their wastewater facilities. Division 1, which is, John mentioned, is ongoing and under design at the moment. So it includes improvements to their treatment plant, improvements to their lift station network, and then a sanitary sewer network assessment, which is a lot of closed caption televising and smoke testing of their lines, and then us preparing our report to provide recommendations. My next slide. This is what we want to talk to you about, which is our Division 2. On our report, this is defined as alternative number 4. These reports were presented to OPRA, the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, and the Indiana Finance Authority through their state revolving fund. And both agencies look favorably towards the concept of regionalization toward nearby sanitary sewer networks. So currently, Oak Hill has their own treatment system on site. Sweetser has their own system. Our plan is to merge both by proposing a new lift station at Oak Hill and then running approximately 4 to 4.5 miles of force main through the Sweetser Trail to the treatment plant. Change to the next slide. So that was the initial intent. So that was when we first presented to the agencies and got approved. As these communications, conversations were ongoing between the board and Sweetser, comments came back saying this is a big scope project, numbers are pretty high. We went back and now sharpened our design a little bit closer to alternative 4A and alternative 5. What does that mean? Alternative 4A is still regionalization, meaning a lift station on the property of Oak Hill. It will run now a force main now to downtown Sweetser. So we'd be saving quite a bit of almost 6 to 7,000 linear feet of pipe. Instead of going to the treatment plant, we're just dumping into the closest manhole within the town. And then tunnel number 5 is more for perspective, I would say. That would be, there's no regionalization, but then the board has to make a decision in the near future of, okay, we have failing or we have problems in this treatment system. we need a new package plan. So we went ahead and kind of reached out to different vendors and worked with other contractors and prepared some numbers. So the board has an idea of what would it be to do that project today. So schedule, in terms of design, what we're looking at currently is we have a 60% deliverable coming up in February of next year, 90% deliverable May of next year. Deliverables consist of plan sets, specifications, and cost estimates. Final deliverables will be happening middle of next year, around July. Advertising, again, happening in July. And a big one is SRF loan closing. So that is how then Sweet Serve secures the loan to pay for the construction portion of this work. The reason for the schedule is not much dictated on the design component, is because these agencies start a clock of sometimes 18 months for us to design, bid, permit, and get the project out there. So the clock has already started on our end to kind of get design going. So before I turn it over to Sean to kind of go into the nitty-gritty of the details, try to put a kind of high-level numbers. If we look at the table you see in front of you, you have 4 columns. Design only, meaning what would be the fee that have to be reimbursed to RQW to perform the design efforts on the force main work. Alternative number 4 includes that component of the design service plus what we believe is a construction. The construction number is what I want you guys to focus currently. So at this point in time, alternative 4, we're running the force main from Oak Hill to Sweet Serve wastewater treatment plant. We're estimating about just north of $3 million for construction. On 4A, which is the sharpened design by reducing linear footage of pipe, reducing valving, and reducing other components, that construction will go down to 2.2. And the last one that we want to probably pay attention is alternative number 5, which would be the scenario that the board decides not to continue or explore communication on the regionalization option, and the board decides to go ahead and put a package plan on site. Based on the information we're getting from current vendors and design and the needs that would need to take place, that package plan would be coming on just under 3.4 million. So that tells a little bit of a story where alternative 4A being a viable alternative in terms of construction being less than if the board needs to make a decision today and put a new plan. So before I turn over to Sean, any high-level questions on the design or schedule that I kind of shared? I know I kind of went fast, but we're going to be here for questions as well. So. If not, I'll turn it over to Sean and he can go into a little more of the rate analysis.
All right, Sean Klein here with Frontier Financial. Our firm works with towns like Sweets are all over the state and helps them put funding packages together to figure out how to do these infrastructure projects. So I'll stay on this slide at first. And the first thing you see is this design only. That is those are funds. That's about $400,000 to start to the design of that line that goes to Sweets from here. Those are what we call bond anticipation notes that we're currently in the process of issuing for their current wastewater utility. And to include this portion of the design, that's why we're looking for a decision in January so that we can wrap those together and just go to the market once for these funds. So that's what that 400,000 area is. I would say your alternative 4 and 4A, your alternative 4, this is something we're also going to present to the funding agency, which is the state revolving fund. They have initiatives like regionalization. 4A, one of the things we want to share with them is that actually gives us the capacity to pick up other elements within this region to bring them into as well. So when we go through, and actually when Ricardo goes through this design, the state has engineers, and they may find that to be advantageous. And if they do, then I might say, hey, I'm willing to pay X for you guys to pick this up because the state wants to reduce the number of permits, wastewater permits in the state. And they're willing to pay X amount to do that. So that's their initiative. And we want to give them options to help achieve their objectives. The far right, your construction scenario, you can consider that your status quo. if you choose not to do something with us, and your neighbor in the Sweetser, then that's what engineers currently think is your most likely alternative. And again, that should be an element of your capital plan as you look at your infrastructure, all the elements of it. That's our current assessment of current cost in the market for package plants. So just to kind of walk you through those. If you go to the next slide, we're going to get into a little bit more detail. I try not to go through too much detail.
There we go, sorry.
So as you can see, we've got the same headers in the columns, but if you look at this, what we've done now is we've said, based on those costs on the prior slide, we're going to break those down and we're going to make some assumptions about for the construction Alt 4 and 4A, we're going to assume that we can issue a bond that's got a 35-year term. It's in the traditional program, so that means that the state sees this as favorable. There's a lot of elements of this project that score well on the state revolving funds scorecard. And so those are your annual debt service payments on those type of programs. Again, if you look at your status quo, you see that 334,000. That assumption is that you're going to go open market, you're going to pay open market rates. And so just to give you an idea, currently the traditional program is around 2.9%. The other thing too is if you go through the state, they don't have what they call a closing cost. You can easily pay $250,000 for closing costs on open market, depending on where you go. And so those types of costs are wrapped up into these numbers. What we did below this is we tried to project what would the school corporations see on a monthly basis is really the way we tried to the red boxes show. Currently, your current cost is about $118,000 a year. So 118 is about 120. It's a ballpark. About $10,000 a month is kind of where you're at today with your current wastewater treatment system. With this here, you'll see that there's two boxes because one box is a box that's called your debt service that you'd have to pay back your note that you would take out. The box below that is your O&M. So what that would be the labor costs, the electricity costs, the chemical costs, those daily operating costs that the town of Sweetser would incur by processing what's sent to them. And so I just want to make sure there's two elements, the O&M, daily O&M, and then there's that annual debt service cost. So if you look at that, and I try to put it on a monthly basis, the debt service is probably $17,000, and these are what I call indicative rates, kind of where the current market is today. You'd be about $17,000 on your debt service for Alt 4, and you'd be around $20,000 for your monthly sewer bill to the town of Sweetser. Alt 4A, your debt service would go down to about $13,000, and your monthly sewer bill would be about $16,000. Your status quo, the one on the far right, the service debt would be about $28,000, and then you would have about $37,000 monthly. Now, just to tell you some things about this, your status quo cost is higher too because you need to maintain an operator to operate your system. If you look at Alt 4 and Alt 4A, those scenarios have no operator required for the school corporation. So that burden would then be passed on to the town of Sweetser to maintain. The other thing too is there's a bit of a difference here because again, if we go to the state, which is Alt 4A, and they fund this in the state, then we're going to pay a subsidized rate, no closing costs. So that's going to keep those project costs down. And then the last slide is kind of a timing slide on cash flow. So if the school board so chose, what would it look like? So at the very onset, December, January, we're saying we're looking for a commitment on that Division 2 design cost, which is about $400,000. In July, the new state fiscal year comes out. So July 15th is when the state revolving funds project priority list comes out. And that is a scored and ranked list that says, here's everybody in the state, here's their application. We're going to fund everybody to this line. And all of our clients want to be above that line. If you're above that line, you're in what they call the traditional program. You get potential for grants. So that's where the state might say, oh, I like this project because it's going to reduce by one NPDES number, one wastewater number. We like that. So that's when we'll find out is that July timing. In that July timing, we'll know what our offer is. We'll know where we fit. So we can come back and say, hey, here's our offer, which is really good, if we make the traditional program. And so with that, we would then set up a closing. And I think on Ricardo's slide, you saw closing was in what we call September. So that's early in their fiscal year. Your debt service payment, your very first debt service payment would be January of 2027. So that's the first time there'd be a cash outlay to pay the debt service. You would still maintain your own wastewater treatment while they construct this for the year 2027. And then 2028, you would have your first sewer bill from the town. So when you start thinking about this and how do you line it up with your annual budgets and things like that, I wanted to make sure you kind of had an idea of what the timing was for those type of cash impacts. With that, I am certainly open if you've got any questions. And I would say too, I know the board probably needs a chance to think about this. If you wanted us to come back, I mean, if you want to think about it, shoot us some questions, consolidate them, say, hey, can you guys come back and answer these things? We can certainly come back as well. Just give us a heads up. But with that, if there's any questions, we're certainly open. I know it's a lot to think about. My only comment is, like John said, the town is committed to moving on this. So they're going to do this project. And we just saw it as an opportunity, kind of as a win-win. They're like, hey, maybe we can regionalize with the school. Maybe they can reduce their operator, reduce their heartburn, send their stuff to us. We'll process it.
So the lift station would be on our property?
That's a Ricardo question.
Yeah,
So we would maintain the lift station?
Tweeter is gonna handle.
And you would offset the cost, like power costs?
Yeah, I mean, that would be, you meaning like whatever is coming into maintain, obviously,
Because
running
we would
operation.
the power would be coming from us unless it had its own like meter, right?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that could be an easy discussion to happen when, obviously, the project succeeds,
So
goes through, so.
then that main,
All the, just if I may, yeah, all the lift stations are separately metered.
okay. But we would pay for that install, right? Is that what you're saying?
The installation of the new lift station would be part of that debt service that.
And then the main going to suites, or would also offset the funds for that too?
That would be the case. Yeah, so what we're trying to do at present here is, since we have almost like an economy of scale situation because due to the size of the project, we get access to better opportunities in loans and rates.
Is it through the Department of Ag? Is that where you're?
No, not through the Department of Ag. It would be through the IFA, through the Finance Authority, through the State Rolling Fund, be the primary funding agency. And when they score these reports, they like to see, again, the regionalization. There's extra points, which, as Sean was saying, there's that project, there's multiple things you're moving along. If we hit the check mark on regionalization, we get extra points when we get scored. What does that mean is when SRF looks at the project itself in conjunction with the regionalization, it gives us a better chance to move up into the project priority list, and therefore getting a better chance to a lower rate for the loan to cover that.
I can answer
But that's by allowing residents also to be able to tie into that main, correct? Like residents through Mir and
So I would
And
say
on-
you're
on the west side of town.
Yeah, your alt 4, which is the one which is a force main all the way to the wastewater treatment plant. That one gives you the capacity to pick up these other surrounding entities.
So would there be an adjustment then to us since we offset some of that? if the residents did tie in?
I think we could we normally do write that in if so like, I'll give you an example. The state's paying for a 4-inch main out 70 west for the Welcome Center. So they're paying like $3 million for this 4-inch main out of the town of West Terre Haute. Anybody that ties onto that main, they get a proportional share of what they're drawing off of that, and that gets packed to state. That's always in the language. I've never seen that language actually put into place, but that definitely, elements like that get put in there by the attorneys and the legal funding agencies. I just rarely see that materialize into something. But you raised USDA rural development ag. I can comment on that if you'd like.
No.
So
I know that's for underserved communities, pop-up communities, trailer communities, campgrounds. The problem is that schools generally don't fall under that umbrella.
right.
So
that's why with this project, you guys are able to partner, because really.
by bringing in MIR, that's where you're going to offset.
Yeah. So the value, like when it's all about the scorecard and how you score on the scorecard. So if MIR has an NPDES number, a wastewater number, if we can reduce by another wastewater number, then that would even improve our score. So we can put us higher on the list.
Or even to add to that, not necessarily even an NPDES permit, but saying near there's a lot of septic systems. They like to see septic systems offline and connected to a main line.
But the first option was our own line dumped into a manhole, correct, where no one else could tie in?
So to facilitate the discussion, we're only just focusing on putting the lift station in Oak Hill and reinforcement dumping into the manhole. If the discussion is fruitful that we can move on to the design, there has been considerations of adding also connections through here. The line is going to be big enough to be able to handle some of these flows. That the only hesitation that I have there is how does the current collection system work at MIR, and where does it go? Is it all septic? Is it going through gravity? Right. So that component can be considered, right? But we first need to get this component, say, okay, yes, we can put in a lift station, we can run a 4-inch line.
Yeah, because if this concept, this idea, this approach, if it doesn't hold water, if the school board has a better capital plan, better approach, which they certainly may, then putting that main line in wouldn't make sense, and then the tie-in, the next domino, the tie-in conversation wouldn't be a whole lot. But just to comment on your ag. So there is another funding federal agency. It's through the U.S. Department of Agriculture called USDA Rural Development. That is another federal funding agency. I can tell you that they have been severely impacted through changes in the administration. And just to quantify, in January of 2025, they had 9 individuals working in the state USDA Rural Development Office, Rural Utility Services. They now have 3. We work with them on a number of programs. We just got a good program for them in the town of Michigan Town, but the timing on these are significant. They're now out of grant funds and they're moving extremely slow. And they don't give credence to regionalization like the state revolving fund does. So I would say 80 plus entities in the state that do drinking water, wastewater, stormwater go through the state revolving fund because of their term and funding options.
Good question.
Yeah.
I think this is a lot for the board tonight. Am I wrong on, when this started 2 years ago, we were first approached by Sweetser 2 years ago, and I know it was a different group of people at that time. I felt like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the message that kind of came our way is they wanted to include the school, and it would allow Sweetser, the town of Sweetser, to have more opportunities due to regionalization and due to their application and the number of points that they would need or want to have to get to those levels, like what you were mentioning already. And we would not have any upfront costs. And so that's what I'm saying. This is a lot, I think, for them to take in. That would allows the town of Sweetser to qualify for more grant funding as well as more low interest loans, which then would be what they would use to kind of bring us in And then through utility costs and different things like that, that's how that would be recouped. So am I, like, you guys kind of expand on that. That's why you're maybe not getting a lot of questions tonight due to them, I think, being a little surprised at what all the upfront cost would be for us, because we're basically paying for all of it to happen, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we're,
you're paying for
the
your
entire
piece.
construction
Yeah,
cost.
for your piece of it, you're paying for your piece. The only thing I'll say is that piece that you're paying for, if you look at your alternatives, is the lowest alternative. And that piece is funding at the lowest potential interest rate. I will say I had a meeting with Bill Harkins at the State Revolving Fund, and I told him, I said, hey, we have a project, a regionalization project. Here's where it stands. How would you advise us to move forward? And his feedback was, you got to have a serious conversation with the school board to tell them that we won't loan to the school. We'll loan to the town, but the school has got to be willing to pick up the debt service that the town, and there'll be an interlocal agreement between that. And he said, and I said, well, we have a bond anticipation note to get the design done. Do you think it's appropriate if the town pays for that straight design, or should the school pay for it? And he said, if the school chooses not to move to the construction, then what's happening is you're taking that $400,000 and you're going to put that cost and burden that cost on the town or the ratepayers of the town of Sweetser, which really isn't appropriate. You really need to say whoever's driving that cost should absorb that cost. And so that's why there may be some changes, but I mean, this is a conversation I've had within the last several weeks with Bill Harkins. And we also, by the way, we set up calls with the State Revolving Fund all the time. They're extremely easy to work with. And so, you know, we could have a call if somebody wanted to hear that directly. That's certainly an option as well.
Now, I tend to agree with Sherry. This is not what it was 2 years ago. Not a bad thing, you know, projects change, but I think we need to take some time, talk to our financial, our maintenance. So, you know, we have a lot of calls to make, and discussions to have before we can offer, you know, at least my first blush is I want to think about this a lot.
And like I mentioned, we're not asking the board to like commit immediately to numbers. We want to keep the communication going.
Sure, absolutely.
We got the MOU a couple weeks or months ago. Again, the board's still interested. It's just, this is us taking the effort, okay, this is us going back. Here we looked at it. Here's some closing numbers and not the final numbers. We won't know until closing in September. But rather than just us going quietly, rather over communicate with the board, like, here's all the information we have available, and here's what Sweetser is using all this information to make their decisions as well. And if the board wants to partner up, you know.
Sure, yeah, we appreciate the information. We're also considering HVAC and other things.
Sure.
So that's what at least.
I agree. We got to look at it. I wasn't here 2 years ago, but, you know, you look at the bottom line, and that's a pretty significant amount of money up front. Whether or not that could be good, because we look long-term, not just short-term. But, you know, we got to do some more, in my mind, do some more analysis before we look at that.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you guys very much.
Well, thanks for having us out tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
All right, moving forward under continuing business, we have Chris Carey here with Gibraltar to talk a little bit about our HVAC project. We haven't seen him in a couple months, so he wanted to come back and kind of revisit and basically kind of talk through our HVAC project again and kind of give us any updates.
There's not a lot of new information, but I thought it has been a while, so I wanted to kind of show you where we're closing out the year and then what we have in store for 2026 as we turn this corner. So even though you're not seeing us, there's still quite a bit of work that's happening behind the scenes. So I do share your story if you advance with the schedule, and if you go to the next one, and the very thoughtful and meticulous nature to get to this point. I share this with other districts because you've created this playbook of when we started together in January of 2023, and you've gone through the prioritization process. And even though when you have this bonding capacity and you have all these other wants that come into play, and you think we went through the staff input, we went through all these different factors to kind of land where we did. Appreciate the process, because I've been sharing that with other districts that feel like they're stuck. You have all these different things, but when it comes down to looking at a long-term solution for your schools, looking for efficiencies and operational costs, which is going to become extremely important in the years to come, you're making the right decision. And so if we go to the next slide, this is just to revisit again what was being addressed. Every school is being addressed. Historically, this district need of HVAC improvements has been on your minds for quite some time. You have an opportunity to address that. Addressing major maintenance costs, it's really hard to do the projects that you're doing in your annual budget or your capital projects fund. It's just almost impossible. So you're addressing some big ticket items and then getting all the facilities upgraded and on a cycle of need. And what's nice is from the operating standpoint, our plan is to take a little bit of worry off of Mr. Pond's plate and also Dr. Hardman's plate of maintaining this equipment. And then, as you know, it was all rooted in the facility study and then also staff input and their involvement of comfort in the classroom and learning environments. We go to the next slide.
Make it bigger, it doesn't change that.
Just overall, just high level, we're addressing the mechanical updates. Temperatures controls will be included in that. And then we have built in some alternates as well that we'll continue to have conversations about. We'll be with you every step of the way so you know the cost of those and then be able to select those or not select those. If you go to the next slide, it really shows you and addresses every space that's being covered at Converse Elementary as a starting point. And off to the right in considerations, it is what is our plan for the VUV units, and then also what is being built into the alternates at Converse, because we want to make sure before we get to, if you remember, we did the process of prioritization. We went through the ones and the twos, and we're wanting to get all your ones and so that you can consider the twos, and those twos would be those alternates. It is a replication. If you go to the next slide, you can see we're applying the same solution just to each of the schools. You can see where it's going to be addressed at Sweetser Elementary as well. And then, as you know, there's some small items at each school that if we're in there, we want to address some of those things as well that are going to be covered, that we will have more conversations with Mr. Pond and the team. You go to Swayze, same thing. You can see it's covering quite a bit of the building with this HVAC improvement. And then if you go to the junior high, and then to the high school as well. I want to give you a visual because I think it's important when you're used to the older units and you switch to the VUVs, you can see that vertical element. I know you've seen this before, but we're going to keep revisiting it so that you're kind of aware. But the air distribution happens through the ceiling. And so the fusers that are in the ceilings, the air is going to be blown out in a very quiet way and then drop down on the kids versus what is currently happening in that space. And if you go to the next slide, we want to talk about the schedule. And so here's, as we are here today, I was going to keep growing this beard out until we get to the bid date to keep our architects motivated on the construction documents. But I don't think I'm going to be able to wait that long. But we will plan on issuing the bid and had conversations just this week with Skillman to make sure that we have that. When is the right time to bid? What is the lead time for these units? Because the lead time for the units is going to be quite some time. Skillman is very masterful about they will not start the work till they have everything so that you're not paying and we're conserving the money that's available for this project. So they will get it for bid and then allow a lead time to get the product here before they start the work. So September 14th would be the board meeting where they would anticipate awarding the bids at that time, which allows you until November of 2026. And at that point, we'll come back to you about finalizing alternates. We'll know the answers that here's what it's going to cost, here is what is available, and here's some options that you have. And so we'll bring that forward to the board at that time. They're expecting to start construction in early 2027. And then expecting substantial completion and I believe that is 2028. So I think it's a typo. It's not 2027. Not going to finish it in 6 months. I can tell you
We
that.
couldn't get a playground yet.
Yeah,
In that amount of time.
Yeah.
Do our entire HVAC?
So 2028 is when they plan on having everything.
Right.
Troy, we covered that. When Victor had sent me, it was 2028 with summer. So they expect it to take about 18 months. And you can imagine, we've already started the conversations about the phasing because you can only do certain classrooms at a time. And as you guys know, Skillman's pretty masterful about trying not to disrupt learning. And so there's going to be an orchestra that has to happen to make this work. And
Miracles
also
performed by our principals, for sure.
right. Yes, right. And then if you go to the next slide, I want to make sure you know next steps and things that are coming up. So we're going to continue to do some work behind the scenes, but December 12th, we're going to have a page turn on the property with Dr. Hardman and Mr. Pond and the team to make sure that we're doing a page turn to revisit the scope of it. Make sure we have a conversation with Troy about understanding the systems, make sure this is something that's done with him, not to him, because when the projects are done and we leave, obviously he is the one that's maintaining it. We want to make sure that, and now that he's done with school, he's got plenty of time to hang out with us.
And you can call me doctor too.
Okay. And Dr. Pond.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he did just finish school, right?
Yes, he did. He
Yes.
passed his wastewater management test.
There you go.
Yeah. Which is probably why you had some really hard questions for him, right?
It's pretty
We've
impressive.
talked a lot about that,
It
so.
was pretty impressive.
And so we're going to take advantage when the buildings are empty during the break. So we may have some people who always communicate with Dr. Hardman about if we're going to be in the buildings because they're going to want to do some further investigation of those things as well. And then as we get to staff meetings in 2026, I've lived this on my end. If we don't give information, they create information. So we will have a sit down, I promise, with every single school ahead of time. And so with that, we will make sure they understand when is it happening, how does it impact them, where am I going, all of those different factors so that they make sure they understand from beginning to end what will happen. I think that's it. And so what this will further in the future, as I meet with other districts, I'm going to say, we're going to do the Oak Hill plan. It's the Oak Hill implementation plan because you have been very thoughtful throughout this process of making sure you're putting money in the right place.
Thank you for all the hard work.
Yeah, no, we're happy to get started.
And I asked Chris to go into a little bit more detail tonight. We recently had some heating issues in one of our schools, and it kind of caused, I would say, some discussions outside of school, maybe on a social media platform. And I just asked him, I'm like, I feel like we need to revisit this again so people understand that we are well aware of our HVAC needs at each of our schools. It's not just one here or there. And it's day to day some days, whether we, are able to keep all of our units running. And so when one goes down, like in this case, when it went down, Troy had the part on order, but getting the part and then, being able to have time, which ended up being a snow day for us. So it actually worked out perfectly. To get it up and running it's not easy, to do that. And so I asked Chris, I said, I think it would be important for everybody to understand that we are well aware. This has been a project we've been working on since 2023. It's not just something that you can, decide on and then do. I mean, we're talking $25 million. So that in itself is a challenge, as a school corporation. So thank you for doing that. And if you guys were wondering, why we're going back into such detail with some things, I asked him to do that for that purpose.
Yeah, the process part is important and also putting on the radar that it is being addressed.
Yeah, it is.
Well, not just that, but I've said before, I think the fact that we can do this level of a project without changing the tax levy, that's impressive financial stewardship.
And most districts are not in that same place. And so absolutely.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris?
Okay. I'll see you guys on Friday, bringing
His email was down when you sent out the
oh,
invite.
yes.
Could you resend that to him? I sent him kind of a makeshift one.
Yeah.
But just, it'd probably be
Full
good.
agenda and everything on there, so, yeah.
Yeah, that, I didn't have all of that. So I made,
Emails back up and running.
yeah,
That's
his
good.
is, yes.
Okay. I think that's it. I probably won't see you till the beginning of the new year, so I wish you all well and enjoy your time. And I will share with the people in Indianapolis how much snow that you actually had. As I kept coming up here, I'm like, there's more. It just kept.
away.
It's melted.
Yeah, it has melted.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. It just won't go away.
No, it's still fall though, you know.
Yeah. So,
Well, we expect that beard to be more full.
yeah. Well, my youngest last night was like, Dad, it's really gray.
It's funny that you say that, because my youngest just said the same thing to my husband today.
Yeah.
When are you gonna shave that? You look old.
Yes.
Not that that's what your youngest said, that is what my youngest said.
Strike that from the notes.
Yeah.
All right.
You two
Mess
know.
up the put downs that we give.
know.
That was good enough.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I need to end like that, Chris, because that was not directed at you. It was just directed at my 14-year-old comment tempered at.
When my kid told me that about mine, I told him it's because of you.
Right.
I'm gonna text that when I get in the car. Yeah. All right, well, thank you all.
All right.
Great.
Thank you. All right, on to new business. December is kind of our timeline to visit our calendar for the 26-27 school year. So Mrs. Liddick was our basically leader for that. She put a committee together, or a lot of the same people that you've had over the last few years,
We have
right?
a lot of the same people that are very willing to come out and, you know, and it's kind of nice because they have that history with everything. So.
Yeah. So they had 3 options to start with. They narrowed it down to 2. One was a mirror, basically about similar to this school year, where we started that first week of August. The other option is where we started the second week of August. And it was pretty close voting. I had 130 people vote, and 72 voted for calendar 1, and 58 voted for calendar 2. So pretty close, I guess, as far as voting. But this ended up being the winner. Now this is the template. We have 2 things we need to do yet. One was discuss parent-teacher conferences, and then the other is to put in our e-learning days. We do 2 scheduled e-learning days a year, and that will be something we do 1 first semester and 1 second semester. So we have a meeting tomorrow that we will finalize that. But this is our winning template of when school starts, when school ends, and what our vacations look like in between. So.
We need to approve this before we put in the evening.
I think we can. This is basically the template. The e-learning, we'll have 1 in the fall, 1 in the spring, and then just a discussion about parent-teacher conferences. Some teachers wanted to move it a little bit forward.
Yeah,
So,
we had a type
Oh,
of
no, it wouldn't change any,
Wouldn't
wouldn't change start, wouldn't change the vacation days, and it wouldn't change the number of student days because they're all the same. So I feel like we can.
May's got 2, the 24th and 25th. of the last
I
week.
know, I had already had it in there. It was pointed out on Wednesday. Was pointed out on Wednesday, so we will only have 1 last student day. So when I update those, I will do that.
The army wants to come back.
Yeah, yes.
They're really good. You don't have to
We're
come
gonna,
back.
yeah, really, it's not for us.
No, this really is your last.
Oh, I guess tomorrow. So, yeah, so this template is the winning start and duration.
Unless the troublemakers on the first last day, make them come back for the
Second last day. Yeah, you get in trouble. Otherwise, you can stay.
Including the
Well, I move we accept option 1 as the calendar for 26-27.
Second. All those in favor, right hand? 6-0.
All right, on to the next agenda item is to approve the stipend for returning non-certified and professional staff. Just to kind of revisit this, we discussed something that we do typically is we settle with our teacher, our certified staff in November and do that bargaining and then approve their contract. And then the following month do the non-certified staff, the professional staff, and then our administrative staff. So the recommendation for our non-certified and professional staff is a one-time stipend of $1,000 for full-time, those 32 hours or more, looking at last year's position into this, last year's position this time this year. And then for administrators, that'll be your second agenda item, but I'll explain it now. Basically, what we have done is we have mirrored the teachers in the amount. We do have a couple other stipulations that we use for administrators as far as they had to be here last year. So that is, the recommendation is to equal that of the teachers, which is a $2,000. That would actually be added to their salary, so a little different than a stipend, which is what we did for our teaching staff as well. So there'd be a special pay for this, which would be this Friday, December 12th, and then for the administrative side, their recurring amount would go on their first pay, which would be December 19th.
Any questions? Now here's a motion on the second. Second. All those in favor, raise your hand. 6-0.
Two motions or can it be done in one?
Let's quickly move to the second. The second one then is the base increase for the returning administrative staff equal to that of the certified staff.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. 6-0.
Sorry, we have some trainers headed this way, or one that was headed this way, and she's caught up a little bit for our executive session. So I'm just trying to let her know where we're at in the agenda. All right, next on item D is to approve a reorganization meeting. What we have typically done in the past is we have aligned that reorganization meeting. It has to be done within the first 10 days of January. We have aligned it with our board work session, so that would be Wednesday, January 7th.
All those on your motion, say. Move to approve. Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. 6-0.
All right, letter E is to approve classes at the junior high level that we can offer for high school credit. I'll let Mr. Means talk a little bit about this. The state is rolling out some changes with their accountability model, and you earn points at each of the levels, the elementary, the junior high, the high school. And one of the, criteria for the junior high level is how many classes you offer at the junior high level for high school credit. So one thing that he has been working on, Mr. Means has, is looking at the classes that he would offer for high school credit, which there are already classes that we offer. We just haven't offered high school credit for them. So Mr. Means, do you want to kind of share a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when the new accountability rules came out, they're not official, but they're probably 99% is what's going to happen. Is in the past, we were graded on our iLearn, if you're above proficiency, proficient, below, or approaching. Now those students that are below and approaching, they can still earn points for the school instead of getting 0 points. That's the very, very short synopsis and all that. And one of the criteria, like Dr. Harmon said, is we have to offer 2 credits at the 7th grade level, 2 classes for high school credit at the 7th grade level, and 2 classes for credit at the high school level. Right now, we currently offer PCC and health for our 8th graders, so that really wasn't the issue. It was like, what do we offer down at the 7th grade? And the ones that we thought that we should offer that would give our students the, would allow our students to get those credits. I'm not going to offer just algebra because not every student's going to offer it. We want every student to be able to achieve those credits. One would be PE, probably offer that at the 7th grade level and tie that in with health, and then obviously continue with PCC and algebra, and then there's probably going to be a FACS class somewhere in that rotation that we would have to offer. So that is the reason why we want to offer 2 additional classes for high school credit down there, so we can get those points. So in the past, where a student would get 0 points for a school, if they come to school, they miss 10 days or less, and they get their credits and they show improvement, they could get up to 75 points in the past, where now they get 0. So that is our thinking. We may need to adjust this as we look into it a little more, but we're pretty sure that as we look through everything, PE is definitely that I would like to offer, and then an undetermined FACS course that we need to look at. So Mrs. Shigley and I, along with the high school staff, have been working on that, trying to see what would be the best benefit, not only for the junior high, but to help the high school as well.
Any other questions? Any motion and a second? So moved. Second. All in favor? 6-0.
All right, last on the agenda is the, to approve new classes offered for the 26-27 school year at the high school. Those classes that are proposed are business math, intro to public service, interpersonal relationships, and then marketing fundamentals. Marketing fundamentals would not be a new class technically to our high school. It has been something offered in the past, just not in the recent past. So it was something they wanted to revisit again as just basically making awareness that that could be something, depending on obviously student participation and interest, could be another class that is offered. And again, much of that is driven by some of the changes with the diplomas, as well as our CTE funding that we get with different pathways. So Mr. Smith, do you want to talk a little bit about those?
I don't really have anything more to add than what you had to say. I mean, it's for graduation seals and so a math alternative that's listed there for kiddos. Again, it says business math. The big part of that is it is an alternative 3rd level class for employment or reimbursement seals. So any business math teacher can teach it.
Would that be something that sophomores and juniors would take then if it's 3rd level, or how's that?
Yeah, it depends on where they fall. I mean, typically would be probably if you're taking business math, it's probably your 3rd year as a junior, or
Yeah.
maybe even as a senior. Like if we put this in next year, some of our seniors that maybe not have had success with algebra 2 or something like that can take
Sure.
this as an alternative. But typically, kids that are tracked in math a little bit earlier than that. I mean, I've had situations, I should say, that kids have started a credit bearing track earlier, got into high school, then didn't want to continue, with the more advanced math, and kind of wanted to spin off to more lateral math, and instead of going to the next level. So, I mean, I don't know. It's my opinion. This is really an algebra 2, issue. That's the levels in math jump up quite a bit, and that's a real tough one. If you look at pretty much most of your school, all the schools throughout the state, if you're looking at general diplomas, a big barrier to that is probably the biggest barrier is algebra 2. And so this is kind of an alternative for that as well. So, and then marketing fundamentals, they drop to the bottom there. The funding piece, Indiana made it, many years ago, they've said that, when you look at what they call the value index or price points for these courses, they're trying to really promote and push the business curriculum. And so I think anything you do in life, as much background in business as you can get, it's going to be a factor in anything and everything you do. So
think it's a win for us, win for the state. So we're working to build back into that a little bit more and add a little bit more to what we're doing and what we have been recently.
Any questions? Need a motion in a second?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, right hand? 6-0.
All right, just a couple more things for report of the superintendent. Teacher appreciation grant, that looks a little different this year. In the past, we were given an amount. We took the total number of teachers, split them into highly effective and effective, and then just took that pot of money and divided it up. The highly effective got 25% more than the effective. The state changed that. Basically, I think wanted to focus solely on the highly effective teachers. Made it into tiers of 3,500, 5,000, 7,500. And then depending on each tier, makes it a little bit more difficult to attain that grant funding. We have sent out the information here. Those that are interested, those highly effective teachers interested in applying are able to do so by next week. That's the deadline. I sent it out the week of Thanksgiving. And then depending on whatever tier that they are applying for, we will look at eligibility. And then after that, our plan is to do more of a lottery type. Those that are all eligible, put them kind of in a lottery type of decision. And the state only gave us about 56,000. I say 55 and like $900, so almost 56,000. Well, if you do the math on that, at the first tier of $3,500, that allows us 16 people to get the grant funding or to be awarded the teacher appreciation grant. So there will be, a number that won't be able to get it this year. So, kind of depending on what that looks like for next year can be, we can develop that for next year. So, like I said, you will have more information on that come they are due to the state at the end of January. So come the January board meeting, I'll have kind of more information, number of applicants, those type of things. So 401A and 403B transition to Voya. This has been a little bit more of a process than I think we thought in the beginning, but I think it will be a great move for us. Currently, we are with Corbridge Valak, and have been for my understanding is over 20 years. Hasn't been something they've ever looked at. Reason for our staff brought this to us as something they wanted to look at a little further and possibly change because of the fees associated with our current provider, as well as the ease of being able to access their own money once they retire. So we looked at a couple different options. We had a committee of individuals, two primary ones that if they ever decide to could easily be retirement counselors because they know so much about this information. It's so amazing. But we ended up choosing Voya as our next provider for our 401A and 403B plans. This week, we will have two staff meetings, one Wednesday after school and one Thursday after school to provide our staff as a group, an entire group, more information on what this process looks like. But the ultimate process of changing over will be done and finalized at the end of February. So, like I said, it's very much a process if you think about it, transferring money from one, big corporation or one big entity to another, making sure all the paperwork and everything's in order. That's a lot and it's a big deal. So we want to make sure we get that right. Voya has been great to work with so far, so hopefully they will help us continue. We actually, our financial advisors is Prudential Financial. There's two individuals we work with Prudential that have been and are facilitating the meetings this week. So they have been great in helping us with this too. So last on the list, it's that time of year for insurance. If you remember a couple years ago, we were not able to continue with our current property provider due to some of the weather-related claims that we had. And so we, these last couple of years, have gone with a new provider. They had let us know that they are no longer able to provide coverage for us, so we are in the process of providing a new property insurer.
So frustrating.
I know, and especially because it's weather related, it's not even in our control. And I will tell you, the positive of that is in the last 2 years, we have had no property claims. So I say that, I better not. But we've done really well since then. I know those were 2 big claims at the time, but, so we are working with ING to get that finalized. So hopefully in January, we'll have all that information finalized and ready to go. So, any questions on that? Well, that is all for the regular portion of our meeting. We do have an executive session following this for some board training. So,
We have a motion to close the meeting. Motion. All those in favor, right hand? 6-0. Meeting adjourned. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Well, I was